Welcome to Toffee TV. I'm joined by John Blain from Everton Business Matters to talk, basically just a catch up about the business side of the football club, I suppose.
I thought it was going to be how your holiday was.
No, that's done, sadly. Till next time. So, while I was away, the transfer window finally shut, in terms of, obviously it closed just before the season for players coming in. It's shut now in terms of getting players out the club. The consultation for Bramley Moore, public consultation finished, the second one. So before we go on to the public consultation, let's do the players stuff first. Transfer window done and dusted.
Sure.
We sat down in May, I think it was, or early June, and talked about
times fly. Yeah.
Well, it does. Yeah. Talked about the issues that Marcel Brands kind of faced in terms of getting players in and getting players out. Obviously, we brought 7 players in, I think, over the transfer window.
Does that make you right again, does it?
No.
So what did you say?
Certain people told me.
What did you say?
I said we bring 6 in.
What did I say?
Less.
So you're right again.
There you go. Well, we 7, so we were both wrong, really.
Okay.
But we spoke about how Marcel Brands would have his work cut out to get some players out.
Sure.
How do you think he did in terms of getting people out the door?
I mean, I guess you've invited me, so I feel honoured bound to say that you should really listen to our podcast.
Yeah,
because actually, I mean, we do go into quite a bit of detail about this, and we have some decent jousting, myself and Paul, because we have slightly
the
a slightly different view on the outcome.
Yeah.
But what we both agreed, I think, and you'd have to listen to the podcast to see whether I'm telling lies or not. Yeah. What we both agreed was that clearly Brands has as we've talked before, Brands has inherited somewhat of a challenge. Yeah. It's probably a bit unfair to describe professional football as as the deadwood. Yeah. But there's a fair amount of a number of players who you can't foresee them getting anywhere near the first team or indeed the first team squad unless
it's not part of the manager's plans, are they? That's
not the manager's plans unless some disaster strikes. And sadly a couple of those players are still here. Notably Nias, I guess. So Brands' challenge was to move on the deadwood. Clearly to find good development opportunities for those players who have some potential. So a fair amount of loans gone out the academy and stuff, because we've got to continue the progression through the age groups into the 23s and things like that, which is why Unsworth does such a good job, if you think about it, winning the league for the second time with almost a completely different set of players than he'd won a few years before. And then to bring players in to enhance the squad, and to do all that within the confines of the legislation, when we have our backs against the wall on profitability, sustainability rules and financial fair play and all that sort of stuff. And then people then will perhaps have a binary view about how they thought that went. And I think it was a good window. I don't know what you think, but
I think players coming in, I think was a good window. I think could it have been a bit better? Yeah, if we would have been able to get Kurt Zouma in permanently, but it wasn't for the want to try or the fact that
but I think that's an example, and people have a view, but I'll ask you the question, because I know if you listen to the podcast, this is perhaps something me and Paul disagree on. My view is, notwithstanding what Brands had to do with the financial modelers and the Moneyball guys and all that sort of stuff to stay within regulation, had Zouma been available, we'd have bought him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What I was saying,
and the same with Zaha probably as well.
Well, we would have bought both of those players. So
it's another 100 million.
Of course, But no. What I was saying in terms of a good window, when you look at it overall, the quality of player that come in. Is there a gap in the squad that we didn't fill? At centre back. Backup centre back. Zaha would have been lovely because he'd have been an extra player who's an extra attacker, got Premier League experience, good quality footballer. But that didn't happen. We've got Alex Iwobi. I was happy with that. If you're asking me, was I happy with the transfer market? Yes, I was. But I would have been even happier had Kurt Zouma came in. The issue and the fault doesn't lie with Everton as far as I'm concerned there, because we would have paid for Kurt Zouma. Even if Chelsea would have rang up noon on deadline day and gone 40 million, he's yours, Everton would have bought him like that. So I don't blame Everton for that. I'm just saying that would have made the window better. In terms of players going out the door, I think we all wanted to see the Kevin Morales situation sorted, and it was. Obviously Henry Onyekuru we had an issue with the work permit.
He's never going to end up.
It wasn't happening because he wasn't playing for Nigeria, so we got money for him. Excuse me, we made
Good money.
Profit, doubled our money, didn't we? And it'll go up again. Ademola Lookman, I know a lot of people weren't happy with that transfer, but the lad didn't want to be here and wasn't going anywhere, so what was the point? It was almost, if he wants to go and he feels comfortable in Germany, where he's only sub, by the way, for Leipzig.
I was going to make the point, it's funny how you were talking about Dortmund before.
Yeah.
And I will watch that thing on Prime.
Yeah.
But once you have some excuse to have an affinity with a club, you follow it, don't you?
Yeah.
And I've looked at Leipzig and I said to my mates, he wasn't even in the squad for the first game, he was a bench for the second game. I've not looked since.
He got on in the second game, third game he didn't get on.
Well, there you go. So he's moved from the Premier League to the Bundesliga. Same result, really. You might get a game, you might not.
It's early days, and he is a very good footballer.
But I think it was good business anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we got decent money. People, what annoys you slightly when you're looking at on social media, I guess, on these players go, is when people come out and go, why didn't we get 40 million for him? And it's
not that easy.
You're not going to get 40 million for someone that nobody else wanted. And if no Premier League club wants you, let's be honest, that's where the money is, isn't it? It doesn't come from.
Same with Vlasic to some degree.
But then what I would say is, people asking for 40 million for Lookman, well, we only paid 28 for Iwobi, who's played a hell of a lot more Premier League games, is probably more proven than Lookman, so it swings and roundabouts. Vlasic is another one, you're absolutely right. Vlasic is a very, very good footballer. Wasn't going to get in our team at the moment. Been to Moscow, enjoyed it, wanted to stay there and play games. And he'll be one of those players, I expect, that will join Roma or Inter Milan or someone in Spain, and everyone will be like, oh, we could have had him. But he may be suited to the continental style, a little bit slower. I think the Premier League was hurly-burly.
It's like that fella Dislok got from Stoke.
Shaqiri.
Yeah. Great promise, can do it, can show flashes, which is particularly what Lookman did. I don't even think Vlasic showed the flashes when he was in our shirt. And people remember those, showreel things rather than what actually happens in games. And, apart from the odd flash, neither of them pretty much did anything. And we've got about 30-40 million quid for them.
At the end of the day, we sold Lookman, Vlasic, Young Yukuru. None of them were contributing regularly enough, and we've got money in for them, and you're placing that with players who will come in and do very well for the club. And I suppose that the only kind of downside at the moment is obviously Jean-Philippe Gbamin getting injured. That's a gutting thing, because I know he came on at Palace and he was okay. His numbers showed up well. Well, you know what? People said that the big issue that day was he got caught in possession a couple of times because he thought he had more time. If you actually look at his numbers actually weren't bad at all.
Absolutely.
He was marginally better against Watford.
Yeah.
Still, again, a couple of things, but that comes with playing in the Premier League.
You mean marginally better statistically?
I just think himself.
And
statistically as well, but even himself in the game.
Because in watching the game, he was far better. In the home game.
Statistically, with his passing.
So what you're saying is, you look at the stats and he was slightly better across the two games.
Yeah, but
you look at the game, he was a lot better, and then that was why it's a real shame. Because
I think and he will. He's here for he's here for the long term. It's just frustrating because you want him to really hit the ground.
And it is that, I think, the new players, Gibran's the same. You don't get the time in this league.
No.
And in fact, you don't get the time in this country, because he found out you don't get it against Lincoln.
But he done okay, did he?
But he settled into that game.
He did,
really well, and showed that he's going to do stuff as and when needed. So it's going to be fascinating to look at how much game time some of these players get. I mean, you've managed to go whatever it is 5 minutes into this, not even mention Keane, who's
we'll mention boys in a minute.
Who my missus should be called I Keane, because we've got two Keanes. So there's Keane and I Keane. I Keane, with the potential he's got and to do different things. And I think in Iwobi, and we've got Richarlison, DCL, whatever you think is going to get a lot of minutes and so on. We don't have to throw Keane in, and say, there you go and do the hard yards away from home in your first 5 games. We can edge him
Being
into
able to
it,
edge him in.
and hope. I mean, I didn't follow it well enough at the time, but I'd be curious to know. Statos will know, I suppose, is how easily or not were Watford under Silva able to bring Richarlison into the team and
Well,
what have you, whether he was just dumped in and say learn on the job, or whether
he was in first day and he scored.
I was going to say he thought so. Yeah.
Well, he hit the ground running for Watford, didn't he? He had
And then he
5
faded,
goals.
yeah.
Well, when Marco left, he never scored another goal
That's
for
right,
them.
yeah.
And then he come back to Everton, and his first game back under Marco, he had 2.
So all in all, I mean, and part of what we've talked about on the Business Matters stuff, I think, is that Brands is in his crust, operating to a plan with some discipline.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking offline before about Zaha, and there are people out there who think that was just paper talk and so on, but it wasn't. It was absolutely real. But Brands won't pay more than him and his team, which I guess includes Silva and presumably involves the board members as well.
Yeah.
We think this guy is worth this. If we get him for less than that, it's fantastic. If we have to pay more, it's above my pay grade. Somebody else has to decide.
Yeah.
Because as a sporting director, I don't want to pay more than that.
Yeah.
But maybe the board or the owner or whatever think, well, we want him.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting.
Statement signing, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time,
And you know, and Bashiri's got that in the back of his head all the time. I want that, you know, that real we're here
moment to say we're here. Yeah.
But you make an interesting point about the outgoing players. The incoming players, there wasn't huge amounts of competition for them either. You know, and I think going back to our podcast, I keep mentioning it. When we finish with Ain't What You Do Is the Way That You Do It, I think we did, and Brands in particular, and the team he puts around him, did a really good job on Keane.
Yeah.
You know, with the stakeholder management through his agent and those sorts of things, and you know, and how he followed through with that. You know, with the thing with his mum and we'll look after your boy and all this sort of stuff. Is, you know, I'm not a great fan of necessarily of the People's Club being what we want to be like. You know, if it's the People's Club that actually wins things, then we won't be we won't be caring. But if People's Club means we're more interested in charity and being liked than winning things, then it's wrong. But what we did in and around landing that player shows a really good process.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like about what they do, and I think players like even Delph, I think, has mentioned this, and another good buy, is they almost hit the street running. They almost sit down with the player and say, right, if you're going to join us, this is why. This is why we want you. This is how we see you playing. And this is where you need to improve. Yeah. Now that's got to impress any player. But when it's a late 20s, full international who's got a few Premier League medals in his back pocket, and he's still getting told that, you're going, right, okay, this is cool. I get it. You know, and then there's no Lukaku type thing, you know, of I thought we'd spend lots of money. No, we've told you exactly what we're doing, and you came. So on that basis, Brands is doing a good job.
I think
we pay him a lot of money. So is he doing the job we pay him for, or is he doing more than the job? No, he's doing the job we pay him for.
Well, that's
all you can ask.
The whole thing with a sporting director is that essentially they are the old manager of the club in terms of that. Of course, he gets agreement with Marco about what kind of players they want, but should Marco fall below what he expects, he'll be replaced with someone who plays the same way as Marco that can get the best out of these players, and you're not left with having to change your manager all the time. And then when you take over from me because I've failed, you come in and go, those players that Baz brought, I don't want any of them. We play a different way. So you're going to need 15 new players before you can get the most out of me. Whereas if I play a certain way and you play the exact same way and you replace me, you might come in and go, right, let's tinker with this. I need one because everything's here for me, and that runs through. That's what clubs do around Europe. It's why it works.
I was preaching to somebody the other day that the best team isn't the 11 best players, and so part of what they're trying to do there, and I think it's laudable and it's right, is that they're not just picking technical skills and things, they're picking personalities.
Of course,
that they've recognised like a leadership perhaps on the field, in the dressing room, whatever, and it's perhaps a bit naughty for people to say that's why we bought Delph. We actually probably bought him because he only ever touches the ball twice, and the second ball is passing it to somebody else.
He's a good footballer.
He's got a good head. He can cover. He watches what So he's a damn good footballer,
and
he brings those temperamental things about leadership. And no one's going to challenge it. I've been there, lads. I've won stuff. And then bring out some of the personalities of some of the other players, but. Keane needs to be Keane needs to be that sparkle who can do something different without being a Balotelli who thinks it's all about him. He's still going to have the work ethic, the team ethic.
I think he has.
No, I think he has as well, because he wouldn't be here otherwise.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So when they're doing their little checklist of who do we want, clearly they're going to have things on there. Can he head a ball? Can he pass? And so on. Yeah. But temperament is quite important.
It's going to be important.
And therefore, what we're trying to build from a squad is our best team, which may or not be the 11 so-called best players.
No. It's two complimentary. But I thought he'd done well. Obviously, Balassi went out the door as well.
He was a arse, wasn't he?
Well,
playing with my career.
I know, but listen, it is what it is.
It is.
I don't really want to get involved with him even.
He's gone.
But
history.
It's about getting those players out the door, getting those wages off the bill. Ashley Williams left the club, Jack left the. So he did slash quite a lot of the wage bill as well in terms of players who weren't contributing. Obviously, you mentioned before Oumar Niasse. Oumar Niasse is one of those players I look at and think he may be needed at some stage until he goes. I don't think he's going to be considered as part of the first team, but he's come in before and helped us out. So I look at, but someone like Cuco Martina, I don't see any value in whatsoever. But the lad's got a contract, so you'd have to offer. You'd have to. But so overall, I think the overall picture is reduce the wage bill with players who weren't contributing.
Yeah, again, the podcasty stuff, because there's loads of anoraks in this world.
Yeah, that's good.
Who can do all the numbers, and I do that as well. And I think I say on the podcast, and Paul didn't disagree, so we're in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
If those 40-ish transactions that we've done, which is sales and loans and
leasing players,
all that, then and you'd have to be a true anorak, which sadly, fortunately, I'm not. How many of them were not here last season? But if all those 40 players were on the payroll somewhere, slopping around in Finch Farm, either nowhere near the first team or in an account or whatever, they'd be probably costing us £30 million in wages.
Sandro Ramirez.
An example. So we don't know how much of what we should be paying them where they are paying, but we do know we're not spending the 30-odd million.
And that's
and 40 transactions is a huge
it's ridiculous. And as we move forward, Marcel Brands and Marco Silva has said this, we want to get to a situation quickly where we get to the summer and go, we actually only want 2 players.
Well, that's where we got to when you said it was in May time. If you saying 6 or 7, I think I said less, maybe 5. So for inbound players saying we were limited, well, for me, we got more than I thought we needed. And that gives some selection challenges now to the manager, which is good.
And it also takes the level of the squad up. Moving away from that, onto we had the stadium, the public consultation. It seemed to go well.
I believe so.
The club saying a record number of respondents and things like that. So what do we expect to happen next from that?
Well, the next thing will be the outcome of the consultation process, which I think is going to happen it's a couple of weeks now since it finished, hasn't it?
Yeah,
so I would expect
sometime this month.
In the next month, in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not asked the club recently, but as soon as it finished, I think the headline would have been those results would be shared with everyone within a couple of months.
Oh, okay.
Right, and I think one of the things I said in the podcast was the club have always delivered on their promises of fan consultation, St. Luke's, first public consultation, second public consultation, blah blah, feedback of both, and then the planning application, and so they give themselves more time to. So when they say within a couple of months, I think they know that they might have sensitivity around timing for whatever reason, but it'll come out. So that would suggest before the end of October, wouldn't it? My own view would be early to mid-October time, and then they'll. After that, submit a planning application.
I don't know whether we spoke on cameras briefly, but what did you make of the drawings and everything? The designs. Were you wowed by it? Were you a bit?
Well, it's really funny because Were you on holiday? Or did you...
I was away when...
Titanic, did you go the Titanic?
No, Pedwent, I was...
Yeah, because they did a little bit, I say they, Mo, bless him, sorted that out, and we got a sneak preview beforehand, so we saw the fly-by-ease sort of AR type stuff. But it was far more impressive when Dan Meese is the guy standing on stage, talking it through, and then bang, it comes up on the stage, on the screen. And it was interesting because, of course, there's some leaked pictures in there, the one with Everton and looking across the dock and stuff. But the real images were so much better than the leaky type stuff, which were clearly early renderings or something. But I think it was absolutely tremendous. I thought, I mean, it was quite amusing that keen Evertonians waiting for the website to fire up at 7 o'clock or whatever it was and see stuff throughout the world probably saw it before the people in the Titanic. Because they were running a little bit behind, you know, and I think it was about 7:15 before we saw it. So Twitter's already said, "Oh my God, it's wonderful!" You know? But the way it's what we do well, you know, that presentational thing. You know, there's some criticism out there about whether we could have done more. A bit like the transfer window, and
you can always do
spending money.
Always
do more, but I think it touched the spot for the room. I think there's about 600, 700, 800 people or something there. There's a big chunk of media, but they'd been dealt with in the afternoon. So it was purely, let's call it a fan event in the evening, and it was almost a perfect stepping stone towards submitting the planning application, because lest people forget, the whole of this process is driven towards achieving the objective, which is a successful planning application. And as I'm often fond of saying in my professional life is, yes, you can build it, is a place called start. You could argue we haven't started yet. This is all the preamble,
of course.
This is all the foreplay, if you like, you know, and then bang, the gun's going to go off. A bit, you know, when we see in the media, like we perhaps did this morning or yesterday, about, you know, the new terminus when we see that as Everton are going to get this stadium on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey at Bramley Moore, that's a place called start. And I rather hope that the club then will become far more bullish, stroke aggressive, stroke demanding, of driving the project forward in a manner that results in this beautiful, and it is, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic.
This beautiful stadium on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey, third one we built in the stadium in the city, from the senior club in the city, all that crap. Because it's not crap, it's true, and they'll struggle tremendously.
Well, you said all that crap.
That's a colloquialism. It's not negative, but and then really do it. You know, and I think I've said publicly again, you know, around that stuff happening around the time we're trying to attract players can't have done any harm.
No.
Imagine what it's going to be like when
there's a spade in the ground.
When there's a spade in the ground, and then when it's being built, and then when it's about to open. You want to be the manager, don't you, for that first game?
Oh, you
want to be the centre forward. You know, those iconic positions and stuff like that. And in acquiring players, particularly like Keane, who've also, and Iwobi, they've signed 5-year contracts. In theory, they're all going to be here in that first game.
Yeah, but that's the dream.
And if they're not, it's because we've got better players.
Yeah, well, that's the dream, isn't it? And I think, you know, the thing what I took from it is that, you know, obviously Farhad Moshiri is driven to making this club have this stadium and to really have a good go at the top
it's a shame we're getting the capacity wrong.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point very quickly. It was going to be, they said 52, they've kind of stuck to 52. The stuff I filled in, the box I put, it's the wrong capacity. I'm sorry, it needed to be more. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm hoping, although I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm hoping it's a bit of a Spurs situation where you submit for 52 and then go, actually, you know what, we're actually going to have 55 and we'll leave because Spurs, we know, put in for 56, and then when it was approved, said actually we're having 62 for the American football, but 60 for the Premier League.
They're going for 62 now for the Premier League, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're having a tweak.
There's going to be tweaked to do it. But have we seen, I mean, you sent me something about Galatasaray.
It's funny, isn't it?
Following the same kind of thing.
Well, we had a semi-tongue-in-cheek conversation, didn't we? Which, from my perspective, wasn't totally tongue-in-cheek, because I'd spoken to board members about it.
Yeah.
And they're just saying, if you're not ready, people, it's fundamentally put the seats closer together, and the couple of centimetres you save all the way along. When it extrapolates up, you can end up with a capacity that's 2,000 or 3,000 more. And I have asked direct questions of people in and around the project. Once the physical structure is built, we know in theory it can be 62.
It can,
through, and they've always said that's through rail seats. I think you and I have talked, well, if it's just through rail seats, it's never going to be 62. No. It won't get higher than 57-ish or something, just through rail seats.
Just through rail seats,
but how many real seats could you squeeze into the stadium
without
changing the structure?
We had another 3,000 just off the top of our head.
And so 3,000, and that gets you to that 55 thing.
55, and then with the rail seat, the 70 we're talking, the 670 we're talking, well, it takes you above 60 anyway.
But what we do know now is roughly the planning assumption, I think, if you're talking about rail seats, that it's not at the most aggressive ratio of seating to standing, and it's not at the lowest either, so it's not 1, it's not 2, it's in between.
1.5.
Yeah, so 5,000 rail seats, I say would only add 2,500 to the capacity. So the 62 just seems, if the starting seated capacity is 52, even 55, 62 is never likely to cut the mustard. But the real thing, as everyone will have seen, and it's probably still on the website, and with the VR and all that stuff, is that south stand is just going to be awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic, and I think that...
And everything's tighter and closer than Spurs, and, I wasn't particularly... I wasn't particularly overwhelmed by Spurs ground. It's new, but that's, sort of about it. But the real thing from a capacity point of view is where it leads us to from ticket pricing, revenues and so on.
Course,
and if we are to compete, we either have to have a bigger stadium and higher ticket prices, or higher ticket prices, or both. And at the moment, I just fear that the higher ticket prices might have to fill the gap because the stadium's too small. But we had a shareholders exec meeting last night, and and one of the executive committee members said he doesn't know anybody who thinks 52 is enough, and yet the club talks about there's no real demand for more. So I think we just have to live with the fact that, and what I said in our exec meeting was, the club aren't daft. The people who are making decisions are not daft. Some of them might be more passionate about a big number like Bill than others, but let's not necessarily queer the pitch and just assume that they don't know what they're doing, because they do.
I'm still...
And you keep, whenever we chat about this, you always refer to Spurs, You're not going to get anybody at the football club say, oh, Baz, you're right. We're only saying 52 so we can get planning agreed, and then we're going to go... even if that's the case, they're not going to say it. And my view is, the day it opens, the 1-to-1 ratio thing, whether it's standing seat or whatever, I think it'll be at least 55. And I've always said that. And I'll stand by. I look a fool if it doesn't happen. But
I still hope that there's wiggle room to make it bigger, and I still hope, like you, that the rail seat and the stand, and we're talking 4 years away or whatever, 2023, 4 years away, that'll have changed anyway. The ratio will have changed anyway, so it'll make it a little bit bigger. I think 55,000 seats, and then if you could
bits and bobs of standing
and just bounce it up a little bit, I think would be okay.
I think we'll get quite close to 60.
Yeah, and that, maybe we'll have to see an increase in ticket price, of course. Anyone who thinks
that'll happen naturally anyway.
Of course, it's got to, and hopefully the corporate stuff will there'll be a bit of a demand just where it is, and then hopefully everything goes hand in hand.
Well, I know you might have seen it. I don't know if you have, but the club have completely refurbished all the lounges, all the the lounges and stuff, and they're all testing.
That's a precursor for
but they're testing concepts out and stuff like that. But even before they refurbished them all, they were sold out.
Oh yeah. Well, this is just a taste there for Bramley Moore.
So if they're sold out, then
they'll be more expensive
when they're far better, in a far better location with better sight, like all that rubbish. Because if you're in the captain's table or the People's Club, you're still sitting in a park end. You've still got the best view in the stadium from a obstruction. There just is no obstruction. It's the only stand without things in the way. But you're behind the goal, and perhaps you really want to be at the side. And then if you're in the main stand, then you've still got to go and sit in this rickety old 1970s thing. And of course, there's no hospitality at all in the Bullens, and there's none in the Gladys Street. So all those spaces should have some degree of premium seating in them. Perhaps not the south stand, because that's going to be the big home end.
But the other
three sides, and we saw what happened in Germany when we were there. You were talking about what happens at when you were in the States.
Yeah.
Where you've got, what did you call it, hospitality light.
Yeah.
And that's what they had at the Stadium of Light in Sunderland like 10+ years ago. You paid a modest amount of money extra, and it's not even a lounge. It's just a cordoned off area.
No, it was cordoned off in the concourse, but you got food and you got bevies at your seats and
so that inevitable, which all goes under an umbrella called theatre pricing. Means there'll be lots of tiers, and the only challenge and the question for the football club, which I'm sure they'll answer in the fullness of time, is the affordable ticket pricing that they rightly quote. How big is that going to be?
What's it going to be?
And therefore we can continue to have kids come in and growing up and bringing the future generations along with them.
So that's the team and that's the stadium.
Yeah.
Just briefly, what's the next challenge, I suppose, for Everton on a business scale in terms of attracting better advertising, I suppose, better sponsorship, better business partners, because that's surely what we have to do. Our corporate stuff has to keep with an upward trajectory, because we're seeing United, and I know they're in a different league in terms of Champions League and everything, but we're seeing Liverpool with all sorts of new business partners. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. We've seen Megaphone and sponsoring our match day content. Do we expect to see a bit more than that? Or?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I mean, if we were to go back a year or two, perhaps after Farhad Moshiri had a bit of a honeymoon period, and then you step back and think, am I actually getting what I wanted here? Then you might have initially split the business in half and said, on this side I've got the playing side, and I need to have a leader who sorts that out, who's wholly accountable, sits on the board, and all of those things. All things we said in the early days of Business Matters. That's Marcel Brands.
He's there.
He's your chief exec of the playing side. And we've changed the chief exec on the business side, and that's Denise. And at the moment, this side is clearly making progress and so on, but it's fueled by this side. So they have to work together. And so whilst he can be self-sufficient to a degree, because he can sell players, he can develop players through the academy and sell them, the true elite performances are going to come from buying players he can't fund himself.
Of course,
I mean, it's great if you do it the way the other side have been able to do it, with good fortune of every couple of years sell a player for a record amount and then invest that wisely. I mean, I think I said it on the podcast about how we'll comply with financial fair play and things like that. For all we know, there's a marquee player we're going to sell, sometime. For all we know, and it's not fact-based, it's just for illustration. If we've already got a soft arrangement sorted that says Richarlison's going to go to some Spanish club for £150 million next summer, then clearly Brands and his mates are going to be planning on the basis that money's coming.
Of course,
And so you can do that occasionally, but you will hit the buffers. So that's the player trading income stream. We've just spent whatever it was 10 minutes talking about the match day income stream. The one that's seriously lagging, no matter what percentages people talk about how much bigger it was than it was before and so on, is commercial. I mean, I saw yesterday, I think it's Watford have just announced a new shirt deal, I think.
Nice.
And I think it was Watford. Anyway, it doesn't matter, the principle's the same. And it was like the Elston days, because the announcement said record-breaking deal. It didn't say what it was, just that it was record-breaking. Well, a penny more than last time was record-breaking, isn't it? So our commercial stuff, I think they've done some decent work, I think, in adding the number of sponsors, but or commercial partners. But as we've seen, some of them were only for a year. They've come in and they've gone away again. I've heard some rumours that there's some decent. I'll tell you offline. No, I won't actually, because I think I told the person who told me I wouldn't tell anyone, so I won't tell you offline. But that will be a brand that people will recognise, because part of the challenge, as people say, is but I've never heard of, I don't know, whatever it is, Davanti tyres or something. I might have heard of Megaphone and I've heard of USM, but when are we going to get those higher profile from the right market segment type commercial partners? And there's a challenge there about, how do we do it? And if it's possible, have we got, a bit like the football team, have we got the people in the team who are capable of doing it?
Of delivering it.
And, and someone challenged me on Twitter, and I think I did a politically correct response that says it's an established commercial team. And maybe what I'm really saying is it needs to be freshened up. So maybe what we're really talking about is a hard-hitting commercial director who sits at board level. Again, is something we said on Business Matters a long time ago, that you have those key responsibilities.
Market leaders.
Reporting into the chief exec. And maybe that's what we need to do, because we need a big sea change in that.
I'd go and, like I said, you go and watch Inside Borussia Dortmund.
Oh, on Prime.
I hope people at Everton are watching it, just to see how you can turn a club from being very much like ourselves, and still are to a certain extent. They're never going to have the money Bayern Munich, but there's ways and means of bridging gaps that you have to do, because you're always looking how to do better. You're always having to examine everything, and they bring Matthias Sammer back as an external consultant who literally, this is a fella that obviously was managed them Dortmund, then went to Bayern Munich and managed them like a general manager, has come back, and he basically, and he's a pundit, so he'll slag some of the players off, and then he has to go in and work for Dortmund. So it's a bit, but he sits there and says this needs to change, and they've got Michael Zorc, who's the sporting director, and they've got a couple of other people there as well, and just looking at every option around the football side. But then they've got that with the commercial side, and how do we develop things and make things better.
What they've done tremendously well, and in fact, I guess your video of the trip to Dortmund, the yellow wall, and
that's all.
If you've not seen it, people, you should go and look at it, because some of the stuff we did with Sebastian, the SLO, stuff like that, shows that they've done it grassroots upwards in supporting terms, which is they've got the fan base on side. Their atmosphere was appalling. So, the original guys and the Gladys Street lads, they're where Dortmund were 10-ish plus years ago, from a fan activism in a positive sense of atmosphere. And the club should embrace some of that. Go over there and have a look, and we reached out and made that offer, particularly on the SLO side, about how do you liaise, do the supporters liaison bits, how do you, in their case, try and control the mad people who are the 200 ultras, but who drive the whole of that wall. And if we end up with 12, 13, 14, 15,000 people sat in our south stand going, this isn't very good, is it? Then we've missed a big trick, haven't we?
Oh, God, yeah.
So we need to start the long journey, and I'm coming back to Bramley Moore, but the long journey into Bramley Moore that results in, not just, as it undoubtedly should be, the most iconic stadium in the most iconic location anywhere in this country, bar none, but also the most amazing atmosphere as well, bar none. And in some respects,
with the most amazing commercial team.
Well, I'm going to say, because in some respects, we'll come back to that, but in some respects, if we achieve this amazing stadium delivered by a passionate architect, and a committed board who make sure it really does happen, and we have the most awesome atmosphere, we replicate the good moments we've had in the last 6-9 months at Goodison Park every single game down at Bramley Moore, then that's where the TV people will want to go. That's where you get recognition. That's where you're on the TV more.
The interest.
That's where whoever's on your shirt gets seen more often, and so on. Because your question was, how do we uplift our commercial performance? Because clearly it needs to be a hell of a lot better. Now, I think a lot of the commercial team, whether it's from the board downwards, I don't actually know, might think, well, until we get the stadium, or in other words, as though, I'll say it, there's a difference between reasons and excuses. And we all have, and again, if you listen to the podcast, we need to be bolder and more and braver and aggressive around driving the brand value and increasing it and all that good stuff. Now, when that gun goes off, that says, ta-da, planning has been approved, it's at that moment we need to do the things that some people think we should already be doing, which is worldwide exposure of this brand, because the vision, the commercial vision that the commercial director or their team members, their sales guy, whatever you want to call them, can do is this is what you're buying into.
Yeah.
You're buying into the most iconic stadium, certainly in this country, playing in the most watched league, at the most atmospheric stadium with the most passion, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And football without fans is nothing. And if you've got fans packed in close together and the atmosphere is astonishing, then TV will buy it. And straight away, your shirt becomes 20% more value.
The interest.
The advertising around the stadium becomes more valuable. All that value then ends up in Brands' budget, and we get better players.
Yeah, better players.
And I don't know, you tell me a player who, Farhad Moshiri, clinched in by an Everton Football Club, was a belief that it could be made into this, re-emerged giant. His first time he sat in that seat, which is his for a long time yet, isn't it? And watched the game, he was blown away by the atmosphere. In the grand old lady,
Chelsea,
where we think the atmosphere often isn't very good, but he immediately compared it to the Emirates and thought, this is what it's about. Now, it's going to be a factor of God knows what above that at Bramley Moore. Sell that vision. And that's what we need in commercial guys. People who can sell the vision with passion and hard-nosed commercial reality as well. It all comes at a price. You have to pay for it. And if you then start, and I'm sure they've got all this from a strategic point of view, the worst case scenario, if you're doing these sorts of things, is you wait till the last day and then someone with a big wad of money comes along and says, I want my name on the front of your shirt because you've done it now. And so you've got to have that balancing act to say, actually, no, mate, sorry. Because this guy's been with us for the last 5 years. Is prepared to pay 90% of that. So no, you can't be a come late Charlie or whatever the phrase is.
Johnny come lately.
That's the one, you
can have a come late Charlie.
Whatever. John, whatever. You know what I mean? So you don't wait till the thing's almost on the horizon before you sell it.
No, of course.
And therefore part of your sell can come. I tell you what, Baz, you buy this now and it costs you 10 million a year. You buy it next year, it's going to cost you 12. You buy it the year after, it's going to cost you 15. You buy it the year after, it's going to cost you 20, because that's where we're going. You just watch the commercial stuff start tumbling along if we get, and when A, we win things, and B, we're regularly in Europe. So it's the virtuous circle, is what we talk about in Business Matters. It's the virtuous circle, but you've got to kick-start it. Even a nuclear power station needs a bloody spark to get it going. And once it's going, it goes forever. And that's what we can do, build momentum. But I don't know, maybe it's me, because we're cautious and softly, particularly on the stadium side, and we've screwed up so many times in the past, we're making sure we don't screw up. Which is why I'm giving, personally, I think the club have done everything they said they were going to do. I think they're doing a good job, but the proof of the pudding, we'll all have hindsight if they don't get the planning approval.
Of course.
And they know that, so they've got to have everything lined up to achieve the planning, which I think they will. If they do, we're at a place called Start, and then we have to see a step up, and that step up is in target setting, performance management, review. All the things Brands is doing on the playing side will get really harsh, so we might actually see quite a turnover in the established middle and potentially even, I suppose, senior management team at the football club when we step up, play at a different level. And some, just like footballers, some will get better because of it, and others will go, I can't do it, and they'll go off and work for somebody else. Happy days. It's exciting.
There you go. It
is exciting.
It sounds good. You just, the start point. Well, let's hope so. Big thanks to John. You can check out John on his Everton Business Matters podcast alongside the Esk
and Tom. Don't forget
Tom
Marty,
who is the
Tom Martin.
He
calls himself Tom Marty Man.
He does, Tom Marty Man on Twitter. That's right, Tom Martin.
Who has the unenviable task of sitting in between me.
He's he's the juggler, referee, whatever you want to call it.
Arbitrator.
But he has his own points as well, so we'll check it out.
He's a good guy.
Free podcast there, make sure you check it out. Big thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and if you want more videos, get over and join us on Patreon. See you later.